Hey guys, I wanted to show you a quick journal collection video tonight, and this is 11 years worth of regularly journaling. I've been journaling since fall 2006 regularly, and then I did on and off some as a kid. But there are two more journals that I finished recently that I finished after making this video, and this video is fast forwarded. I have a longer journal collection video coming soon, hopefully, but I just wanted to kind of celebrate a little bit over a decade of the journaling and kind of talk about how I got into it. This journal actually thinned out a bit to make it more my style. And that's one thing I like about journaling. You can try out different styles, or if you want to add in pages, rip out blank pages or decorate it. I spray painted this other journal. I put CEO stickers on a lot of them. I put other stickers on a bunch of them. You can just do anything that you want with journaling. It's really freeing to be able to write about whatever you wanted. And that's kind of why I stuck with journaling. A few years ago, I was pretty frustrated with generally everything in my life, but journaling too. I was a bit mad at journaling back then, and I kept reminding myself how much I wish I'd had journaling when I was a young kid, young teen, and if I'd been able to, if I felt free enough to be able to write anything in a journal, that would have been a really helpful outlet and a positive self-coping skill. And this journal right here I actually had as a kid or as a young teen, and I took it to this youth organization, and we took like notes every week when we met. So I used about 10 pages then, and then it's been sitting blank, mostly blank, ever since, and I finally used it last year, and I wrote a lot about the past, and I like how different journals can make you feel like writing different things. When I use journals from my past, like when I was a kid or teen, when those partially blank or all blank journals, I kind of tend to write more about the past, but some journals I tend to write more about travel for some reason. Like that brown leather, the first journal I got in fall 2006 was this brown leather wrapped traveler's journal from Barnes & Noble, and they don't make them quite like they used to, but it just looked exotic and worldly, and it kind of reminded me of something that some kind of exotic traveler would have had. I don't know, it reminded me of Hemingway for some reason, which I'm not sure why. And this one right here, I took around the city and for a few weeks, and I put in some different brochures and stuff from the city. I collaged a lot in it also, but I put in some Times Square confetti. I've been doing Times Square on and off, or I was doing Times Square on and off for over a decade for New Year's, and I added some things like that. So some journals kind of make me want to go places with them, take them to a coffee shop, take them around the city, take them to Times Square. And some make me want to collage in them, different paper styles, just kind of bring out a different aspiration, I guess. Not really aspiration, but different, I don't know, just different paper styles work better for different things. This journal right here, I always like to add in lists of recent music, movies, and TV shows I'm into, which maybe sounds cheesy, but when I first started journaling, I did these about me pages where I write in my name, address, occupation, salary, favorite TV shows, movies, books, and that kind of thing. And looking back on them now is so cool. I was one of the ones from 2006. I wrote one of my favorite movies back then was Napoleon Dynamite, and I really don't remember that ever being one of my favorites. So it's interesting how quickly we forget the daily life things and how quickly our interests change, and some of them stay the same forever, which is also kind of neat to look back on. I've been into Mountain Dew since high school. This journal right here I used a few years ago, and this kind of reminded me of high school too, just because I had some pants that were kind of embroidered, like kind of sweatpants that had embroidered and were kind of popular back then. And yeah, this journal right here did not do it for me. It was one of those thick journals, and enough had happened during this time in my life. I used this in 2015. I ended up just whacking out half the pages. So feeling free to whack out half the pages, to whack it out, to do anything that you want to with a journal to make it work for you is really something I've enjoyed learning over the years. And I guess one of the best benefits I've found in journaling, other than documenting my memories and daily life and things like that, is just having it as a coping skill, like a healthy coping skill. When I was really young, as a young teenager, and even after that, as an older teenager, I had some coping skills that just were unhealthy and destructive and painful, and having writing as a way to understand myself better and kind of comfort myself. That sounds weird, but to be able to do that kind of thing was really probably saved my ass. I know it sounds kind of overly cheesy to say journaling probably saved my life, but I think it at least saved a lot of my health, mental health and otherwise, and saved me from going into a lot more darker coping skills that were painful and destructive and all that sort of thing. This right here page was one from 2013, and someone, one of the boys, my parents, I just call them, they're not my children, my parents raised them, and I just call them the boys because they did. But anyway, he was dying that night, and I just decided, I don't know, I was just really, I'd never been around people who were saying that they were dying. He was like, "Hey sis," and then he would say like, "I'm dying," and just kind of went in and out of really alert consciousness, and it was really bizarre. I'd never been around that, so I found just collaging stuff like these song lyrics just to be really helpful at the time. And a number of other things happened around that time. Some childhood family friends. One of my childhood friends, I used to call her parents mom number 2 and dad number 2. And we weren't related at all, but I was just at her house so much, and I felt awkward calling them by their first name. I didn't want to say Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so every time. So I just called them mom, dad number 2, dad number 2. And they thought it was quaint because I was a little kid. Anyway, he died that same same month that one of the boys did. So it was just like a lot of loss around that time, and I found collaging to be really helpful. And this right here is some of my old shoes, some of which I'd had for over a decade. The top pink shoes I took to my first international trip alone in Japan, and some of them were shoes my grandma gave me. She's not around anymore. I meant to put a photo in it, but I like that I can feel free now to add in cut out pieces of my old shoes, or I can add in collages about deeply personal emotions, or I can add in movie playlists or music playlists just for fun. This journal right here is the last gift that my late grandfather gave me last year, and he gave me Christmas cash, so I bought this. I'm really glad I had this as a memory, and he died like a month and a half after that, so I got to use that journal some when he was still around, and then wrote a lot of memories about him in it, and that journal just kind of reminded me of him. And I like having journals that remind you of something or someone or a different time in your life. This journal is actually half blank. It just did not do it for me. It was a rough time, and it was a few years ago, and I'm going to eventually whack out half the pages and rebind it to make it a smaller notebook overall. I know I'm talking fast. I'm doing a voiceover trying to make this video not exceptionally long, but I will do another used journal collection if anyone's interested. I just like to see other people's what books they've used, which they have enjoyed, and that kind of thing. I think there's about, I want to say maybe 70-ish used ones, maybe just 60 something for the past 11 years, and then I have a handful of used childhood daily journals, and then a handful of kind of Q&A journal prompt type journals that I've used. This one right here is really, really thick. I used that summer of, I think, 2016, and I really enjoyed that one, even though the paper's pretty white. This one right here is my first journal. This was from fall 2006. It's that Barnes & Noble leather traveler's wrap one. It really does remind me of just travel and old world style, and I like that it wasn't frilly. A lot of the diaries that I'd seen over the years were frilly, floral, kind of kitty Dear Diary type things, or a lot of them even said Dear Diary on the cover, and that one didn't. It felt more adult and refined. And this one I glued in part of my prom dress on the inner cover right there. And I like adding in just random things from my life. I'll add in pieces of my shoes or prom dresses or cutouts of local menus and local restaurant menus or store logos, or especially stores that are going to close like Toys R Us. I'll collage in family reunion photos when we used to have family reunions. I'll add in favorite product labels every now and then, like what kind of wrinkle cream I'm using at the time. And it's just really neat to be able to feel free enough to add anything. And some of the kind of goofy stuff, like adding in pieces of my actual shoes. There's some memories on those old shoes, but it was a good way to clean out my stuff. And it also just made journals feel like a place that you can do anything and not be a judge, which you really can, unless you're showing it online, I suppose. And like if you want to just write about your toenail, I mean, you can write about anything in it, and feeling free enough to be able to do something like that really helps to be able to write the more deeper emotions and deeper meaningful stuff later on. Let's see, this little journal I used almost a decade ago. I put ribbon over it because I painted it in nail polish and I didn't like that. So then I tried to fix it. I was like, I'm just going to wrap ribbon around it. But I found the ribbon in my late grandma's sewing sewing stool, so it's kind of fun to add that kind of thing. And this journal is one of my favorites. I used this fall 2013. It was a little over 600 pages, and I filled this puppy in 3 months. This journal really felt inspiringly thick. I mean, it's just like gigantic. It's about 5x7 in size, and I think I have an entire video on that specific journal. It's one of my top 5 favorites that I've ever used. And this little journal is fun. I just love how much variety there is in different designs. Sometimes I'll use these kind of vintage, antique looking ones. Sometimes I'll use Lisa Frank ones and just all sorts of range. It's really fun to have an excuse to buy stationery and decorate with stickers. This video is longer than I thought it was. I could have not talked like really fast in the early point of this video. But yeah, I got into journaling mostly for a few reasons. My late grandfather had said I was living in a historic city in historic times. I should cherish these memories, even document them in journaling. He said that in a few years before I actually started journaling. The winter that I journaled, I had a boss who gave me a journal for Christmas and said something peppy and encouraging, like every good writer needs a good journal. My job was being a writer, editor, and so she suggested I started journaling right before that Christmas when she gave me that, and then I had also seen that fall a YouTube video of this girl who was struggling with depression and anorexia and that sort of thing, and she said she wished that she wanted to look back on her life now as it really was instead of looking back on the past with rose-colored lenses, and that really resonated with me, and it helped me stick with journaling. And when I first got into journaling, it was kind of getting, like, moleskins were getting popular, so I used pocket moleskins for a number of years as kind of my main thing that I was into. And it was kind of popular to go to a coffee shop and write there. It was just it felt like an urban trend, so it wasn't so like Dear Diary kiddish thing. This is a partially used journal from when I was a kid that eventually I'll finish. It's Beauty and the Beast one's done. The floral one is from middle school. It's not done. It's kind of yellowing pages, and this one's also blank. But I put a few of the blank childhood ones in here just because they're so old and I don't want to lose them. But there's about 4 childhood finished ones, and then about 70-ish used journals. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. Have a good night. Bye.